everybody. We're going to get started. And we'd like to start before we say anything, any introductions. We'd like to start with a short video to warm up our imaginations. And I will play now. And I will keep an eye out to make sure everybody can hear this. Now I will actually welcome everybody to the book launch of Finding Your Beebo. My name is Isha Dandavate, and I'm a senior UX researcher at Google. I'm also the author's daughter. So today's event is going to be all about the book that Uday, my dad, has written, and it's about preserving and finding our inner child as a means to connect with the voice within us and to spark our creativity. Though Uday originally wrote this book for children and created it through a participatory process in partnership with elementary school teachers, parents, and children, we've actually gotten feedback from early readers that it's a narrative that speaks to everyone. And in fact, the act of engaging in dialogue with your inner child is a psychological concept called self-talk. Self-talk can be both positive and negative, but research has shown that people who engage in positive self-talk experience actual health benefits like better cardiovascular health and improved immune function. Positive self-talk also helps us develop mental skills to solve problems creatively, to think differently, and to cope with challenges. So over the next hour, let us all draw inspiration from the speakers that Uday has brought on today, all of whom have forged a special bond with their Beebo. And we'll also hear from children who have read the book. So to get us started, I'll ask Jagdish Mama, Jagdish Karande, who is Uday's uncle, to please say a few words and officially release the book.
I'm getting choked just because of the honor I've been given to inaugurate this fantastic book. I've read it more than once, and I have seen Uday ever since he was born. And as he grew up, I've seen the Beebo in him. All his curiosity, imagination, and compassion, especially compassion. So I don't have too many words right now to utter, although I can speak a lot more. But at this time, I can just say I am very much honored that Uday, Rohini, Isha, AJ have asked me to inaugurate this book. I thank you very much, Uday. I hope this book really wakes up the kids within all of us. Thanks again.
We have a launched book. Yay! Thank you so much, Jaydev and Jagdish Mama, for your kind words and for releasing our book. We're so excited to move on to today's events. So in our first section today, we will present inspiring individuals who have lived a life full of curiosity, compassion, and creativity by preserving their Beebo. We'll hear from each of our very special speakers and hear about their perspectives on preserving their inner child. Our first speaker, Anye Vogt, has lived in the Democratic Republic of Congo, in Egypt, Malaysia, Thailand, and the United States of America. From a young age, she immersed herself in the natural materials surrounding her, which became the tools for playing and an outlet for her creativity. She got her BA in early childhood education and human development from Wheelock College in Boston, Massachusetts. Anya's passion is to provide creative exploration for young children through art and sensory experiences. And she's been called Mary Poppins by the parents of the children she works with, in recognition of the magic that she brings into their lives. Welcome, Anya. Could you please share your thoughts with us? And I'm so sorry. Can I just take a moment to correct myself? Anya. Welcome,
No,
Anya. And I will go on
no.
mute now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome wherever you are in this world. My name is Anya Vogt Tarmis Volsi, or shorter version, the easier version is Anya Vogt. And I would like everyone to take a moment to think of a person, place, or experience that has had a lasting impression on you. As you think about this question, ponder more. What is it about this person, place, or experience that has had a lasting impression on you? How did this person, place, or experience bring out your curiosity, compassion, or creativity? The reason I ask you this question is because I am a true believer that we are influenced by people, places, or experiences because they bring out our curiosity, compassion, and creativity, otherwise referred to as our inner Beebo. People. For me, my biggest influencer was my daddy. From an early age, he showed me his creative sides of engaging in cooking, playing the cello, gardening, golfing, writing poems, and flower arranging, to name a few. One thing I will never forget is how he talked to me like an adult, no matter what age I was. Yet he kept alive my inner child. My daddy had the ability to get down at my level. And boy, oh boy, was he frequently silly and open and eager to join in my imaginary play. Places. My playground spanned from the Democratic Republic of Congo to Cairo, Egypt, to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, to Bangkok, Thailand, and the United States. I did not grow up with a television, telephone, or iPad. Instead, my experiences included hours of playing time with my best friend Melina. We would make potions out of leaves and flowers and water and mud. We would create imaginary characters and worlds. Our surroundings were our props, and often natural materials were turned into board games, puppet shows, active games, or stories we created. As a result of my playful upbringing, I knew from age 11 that I wanted to work with young children. As a profession, I set up provocations, which are activities that provoke one's curiosity and exploration. And I help children find and connect with their inner Beebo. Parents call me Mary Poppins because I show up with this bag and it's full of materials and experiences for children to engage in. When Uday shared Finding Your Beebo with me, I read the book from front to back. I am beyond thrilled that Uday has created a platform for all humans, no matter what age we are, as a reminder to find and keep our inner Beebo alive and present throughout life. I view this book of poems as a resource to help children work through life's triumphs and challenges, or as a way to express one's feelings. Furthermore, it is a wonderful tool to provoke dialogue between parents and children in a fun and childlike manner. To end, I would like everyone to put on their creative caps. What do you think this item could be used for? Okay, some of you may have guessed this is a back massager. Well, when I put on my creative cap, I thought, I wonder how this would work if a child rolled it in a blob of paint. And another thought, how could this tool be used as a sensory experience for a child that is feeling upset or feeling like they need some grounding? The next item, what do you think this item could be? Okay, some of you may know that this item is to spin your wet salad in. But when I came across this salad spinner, I thought, I wonder how I could use paper, paint, and marbles inside it. Ta-da, the end result. If it weren't for my playful daddy, I don't think I'd be the creative and imaginative person I am today. Long ago, I made a vow to myself to keep my inner child, my inner Beebo, alive and thriving. I encourage you all to get a copy of Finding Your Beebo and do the same. Thank you, Uday, for having me.
Thank you so much, Anya, for speaking. It was great and inspiring to hear your perspective on keeping Beebo alive. Our next speaker, Bren Bataclan, is a Filipino-American painter based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, who uses art to spread kindness and cheer. His work has graced schools around the state of Massachusetts, and his paintings often include a note that says, "This painting is yours for free if you promise to smile." Bren's book, Everything Will Be All Right, has captured and highlighted the places where his paintings were given away. Earlier this year, he published a book about his own experiences growing up, titled Faye, A Traumatized Son's Graphic Memoir. Bren and Uday were classmates in graduate school, and Bren provided valuable feedback in the development of Beebo's character and illustration style. Bren, I invite you to please share your thoughts with us and come off of mute.
Okay, hi everyone. Thanks for having me today. And I am going to set my timer for 5 minutes and because I have a lot to share over here. So Uday and I met almost 30 years ago, 28 years to like be exact, at The Ohio State University. And I've always been a big fan and I learned a lot from Uday. And also I absolutely love his illustrations for people. So he's an amazing, amazing classmate and a wonderful friend. And I'm so glad we've been in touch for close to 30 years. So my background is in graphic design and computer animation. So after graduate school at The Ohio State University, I moved to Massachusetts to teach at UMass Amherst, the University of Massachusetts Amherst. And I taught what I went to school for, graphic design and computer animation. Then I left after a few years because that was the height of the .com world. And so I joined the .com world and I was with the whole entire amazing wave of that late 90s, early 2000s. And it was wonderful until the whole economy crashed and I didn't have a job. So it was awful. About a year and a half, I was unemployed and kind of desperate. But then something amazing happened. I started to draw these characters that I've been illustrating since I was a little kid back in the Philippines. And I premiered these cartoon characters at an open studios in Cambridge. And lo and behold, in one weekend, I sold 49 out of the 56 paintings that I premiered. So to thank Boston back, I said, I'm going to do my own street art project because I grew up in the Bay Area in San Francisco and I saw lots of street art, but I wasn't the type of kid who would vandalize a wall. So I said, oh, okay, I will leave paintings around Cambridge and Boston with a note that says, this painting is yours if you promise to smile at random people more often. And since then, I've given away over 3,000 paintings in about 80 different countries. And this also led into a full-time job as an artist. And so for the past 18 years since I started this, I've been collaborating with students, mostly in elementary schools, and I paint murals. So what I do is I show the kids how to draw my characters, and my creatures are really easy to mimic. And so kids feel empowered to create on their own. And so what I do is I take the kids' drawings and I paint them. And so the kids' work becomes part of the school's history and legacy. And so that's what I've been doing. In terms of parallel lives, aside from going to the same grad program and also Uday being a fellow designer, we've also published a book during the pandemic. So I lost all my art projects during the lockdown, but I was able to have a graphic memoir published. And so this is a mostly funny book about my really interesting mom. And her name was Faye. She passed away about 3 years ago. So again, 20 years ago, when I lost my job during the dot-com days, I became a full-time artist. And a year ago, when I lost all my art projects, I was able to publish a book. So I'm saying this because Beebo shows kids and adults like be resilient, be super creative, no matter what. And so Uday asked me to think about who this book is for. I believe it's for kids, obviously, but also for adults. So I shared a photo with Uday last weekend. I was at my in-laws' place in Maine, and I read it for like the third or fifth time. And like at first, I had the children's lens when reading this. Then I realized I'm learning a lot from this book, so it's really, really wonderful. And he also asked me how adults can use Beebo. Well, tapping into your inner child and self-talk is really important, which I do still a lot. The positive aspect of it, and keeping the curiosity, compassion, and creativity in mind. That's also great. I work a lot with kids. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this book next school year. And because I think everyone learned a lot about this. Oh, my time is up. Stop. Okay. I just want to end this. We're actually in Maine again, in Booth Bay Harbor, and this is the kind of painting I give away with a note that says, this painting is yours if you promise to smile at random people more often. So I'm going to leave this, and this will be for Beebo. So thank you, Uday, and it is an honor to be asked to give a presentation, and I'm so glad we are friends for almost 3 decades. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much, Bren. That was such a cute illustration, and it was amazing to hear about, from your perspective, the use of creativity as a means for resilience. Thank you so much for sharing that valuable perspective. So our next speaker is Professor Sudha Nadkarni, who would like me to introduce him as Sudha. Sudha founded the Industrial Design Center at IIT Mumbai, the Department of Design at IIT Guwahati, the Business Design Program at the Wellinger Institute. He's an ideal example of how we can live a life full of wonder and inspiration by preserving our inner child. He's a lifelong teacher known for his childlike curiosity, abundant imagination, and irrepressible creativity. Welcome, Sudha. Please turn off your mute, and we'd love to hear from you too.
Thank you, Isha, and thank you, Uday, for making me part of this interesting discussion. As I told you, Sudha is my real name is Sudhakar. So that Kar is a little stronger, So to make it soft, my friends have made it Sudha. But I had a problem when I came back to India. People thought Sudha is a female. So on telephone, they used to call me, I want to talk with Professor Nadkarni. So no, I am Professor Nadkarni, but my name is Sudha. So that's the thing. Yeah, what I have done today is that I don't want to talk about the thing, but what I wanted to express, what I have learned from my childhood, from my environment. Yeah, and please excuse me about my English. My English is a little bit ghati. You call it ghati English, yeah, because all you are talking about American English, and if you compare that, I hope you will understand some of my pronunciation, because many of the things are used is Indian idioms. So excuse me for that, but you can contact Uday separately and ask the meaning. Okay. So thank you. So this is my inner Sudha, what you call Bibo, telling the physical Sudha. Yes, and he's trying to impress this physical Sudha, what Sudha is, how he's made, and sort of thing. So please, I'm going to read it because I'm not so good in impromptu thing. So excuse me. So hey Sudha, get up, see who is arrived. Your very closest friend. It's your Bibo. See how I look? I look little different than you. You have two hands, two legs, 2 ears, but I have all this in abundance. Many minds, legs to wander all over the everywhere, in the city or walk on the river or on the rocks. Through greens, I am very fast. Within the seconds, I go places to places. I have many, many eyes. I stretch them all around over the cosmos. I can go into the minds of many. At Gangadhar Nivas, where I stay and where I grew up, is a chawl, is a commune life, yeah. So there was quite number of families they live together. At Gangadhar Nivas is chawl, we call it chawl, it's a commune. Where I grew up in this chawl that we lived 60 families from door to door. Those doors were open day and night, where the word privacy was not known. Interact, feast, celebrate, franchise, fantasize, where we experience each other's some sorrow and happiness. What is empathy? I learned from these behaviors of 60 families. Like honeybees, I was with them. I learned dance, drama, music. I learned love and passion. I learned to live for each other. When you sleep with 60 other families on the grass mat on the terrace roof, watching stars in the dark sky, when a twinkling star wanted to jump, I was eager to come to my beautiful land. A dance with happy gestures. I learned counting the I learned counting by counting stars. Under the sky, sleeping on the roof on the grass mat, when the rain drizzles, it's made us run with together, with laughter. Rewind, restart, unroll the mat, make figures out of stardust, create animals and ghosts out of running clouds, creating something out of nothing. Recycling I learned at the Gangadhar Nivas. Dalda Dabba, a sturdy container for ghee. It is a oil to be used for many things for cooking and sort of thing. Reuse for seed plantation, reuse for grain storage, reuse for carrying the toilet water, container for taking the bath. Recycling becomes a part of my DNA here. Sudha's Beebo was hearing, seeing, learning with many hands, with many feet, with many eyes. I mix many images and many experiences in one. I mix both of my many contents, colorful and mouth-watering. The misal I was talking about. Misal is a broth, mix up of various things, and it's quite tasty. You come to India, I will home looking from Ganesh festival. I think you all must be knowing there's a big festival in all over India, which is the elephant god. They pray elephant god for various things. Home looking for Ganesh festival, an opportunity for colorful decorations. A decoration to challenge your imagination. Flowers with many colors and fragrances, with animated movements behind the idol. Beebo immersed in making collages and learn mechanical movements. Festivals taught Sudha, Sudha's Beebo many things. Festival of lights, festival of colors, geometrical shape with color powders, three-dimensional forms from bamboo sticks, pasting color papers with many combinations. The taste of sweet, types of laughter, the shapes of many variations. Sudha's Sudha's Bibo learn about being surprised by his environment. Strolling on the seashore next door and scribbling on the sand with your fingertips, draw and erase hundreds of figures. Sudha learn how to draw. Sudha's Bibo discovered from many things from clear ones, from his dear ones. Sudha's Bibo also learned from his father. Simple is beautiful. Simple is pure. Aspire to be true Gandhian, just like him. Sudha's Bibo was also confused by many things. Why one Bibo kills another Bibo? Why mate, why man kills another man? Why not everyone's Bibo enjoy counting stars? Why not all the Bibos dance together around the festival of lights? Love, I love my Bibo. Uday's Bibo is not different. It will stimulate you, it will excite you, it will teach you counting by counting stars. A rare experience not found in classrooms. It will make you look at things with many eyes. It will sensitize you for empathy. All in one, one in all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Next up, we have our final guest speaker who will talk about channeling our Bebo. I'd like to welcome Anna Kirah, a specialist of design anthropology and psychology at Halligen in Oslo. Anna is known internationally for pioneering methods within people-centered innovation. Anna has led global initiatives in both the public and private sector in many different countries. She has designed and led a radical innovation school for top leaders that was written about in Business Week. She has advised governments and CEOs around the world. Today, she works primarily in strategic change processes as an advisor to leadership teams. Thank you so much, Anna, for joining us. Please come off mute and share more of your thoughts with us.
Thank you for reminding me to come off mute. I would have started talking without that. It is such a pleasure to be here because Uday and Rohini are two very special people in my lives who I have not seen for a very long time. But there's always this, with the digital world that we live in, there's always this flutter. Just like a butterfly, and there will be these flutterings in my mind where I remember a moment, and sometimes I tell Rohini stories, sometimes I tell Uday stories, and I remember even meeting Isha when she was much younger. But today we're talking about Beebo, and I think that Uday and I have often talked about Beebo in other words. And I have to say, he did ask me before this that, to say something about my Beebo. And I thought I did not have to find my Beebo. My Beebo found me. And Beebo is always with me and has always been with me. And that this is very important to me since the moment she found me, but also from the moment I dared to love her. And I think that that's a very important piece, is that you actually have to love your people. And that was where I began my reflections. But today was a birthday of one of my children, and I spoke with my children about looking back at life. I've lived an amazing life, and I've thought that it's a life I'd never imagined possible. And then I realized that Beebo helped me with one very important thing, and that is that Beebo helped me to always be open for possibilities. And traveling on this road of life, realizing that all the bumps are opportunities. I didn't realize that when I was a lot younger. And imagination is what allows dreams to form. But this requires a level of safety. I'm a child clinical specialist, and I've thought about this a long time. And you cannot imagine when you don't feel safe. And I remember times a lot in my life when I could not see people. And I meet a lot of people in my everyday life. I work a lot in Africa as well. And I see people and meet people who cannot see people. Also in Norway, in the United States. But from Africa, we wrote about this because we realized we couldn't really help people if they could not feel this sense of something in the future. And so we called them the now people. Now people are people who are maybe so hungry without a home that they're just imagining, what will I survive the day? Those are now people. And then there's tomorrow people, and they can imagine the next day. And then there's future people, and they can imagine further out in this journey. And how do we create sustainable people who can imagine beyond? So I'm very privileged, I realized, to have that Beebo with me. And I wonder, how might we help the refugees, the vulnerable, and those suffering from poverty today? Because those are the people who really need Beebo. And then there is the group that are so wealthy, the gray gentlemen, I call them, men in suits. They need Beebo very badly. So in all of this, and something Bren said reminded me of perhaps the most important thing, and it's very funny because I learned it in Massachusetts, with a man very dear to my heart, who spoke of becoming integrated, that integrity comes from being integrated. And that's integrating our sense of self, our experiences, our knowledge, our personality, and it's all that connecting of the dots that Uday writes about, and bringing that in is what allows us to play with Beebo and have Beebo part of our lives. Which brings me to the end, which is that because Beebo is the safety you create within yourself, and that gives you the courage to think and act differently, because acting differently and you need courage to do that. I leave one question, and that is, what can we do to ensure that everybody can find Beebo and Beebo can find everybody? So I think it's a book. For me, it was a book for adults because of that. And of course, children will love it too. But I think that we as adults, we really need to be asking ourselves, how might we help those who really need us?
Thank you so much, Anna. What a wonderful note to end on, and inspiring call to action to help others find their Beebo through courage and safety. So now I'd like to take a moment to thank all of the amazing speakers who inspired us this morning, or actually today, because we are all over the world right now. We heard about thinking creatively about everyday objects, using creativity to build resilience and joy, curiosity fostered by communal living and festivals, and loving our Beebo and helping others to find the safety and courage to do so as well. Thank you so much, all of you, for speaking these powerful and inspiring words. In the next session, we'll hear from the team that created the book. They'll talk about their experience of creating Beebo. So first, we'll hear from Molly Pearson, who is the editor of Finding Your Beebo. Molly calls herself an average girl on her journey through health and fitness. Through her blogs and podcasts, Molly shares her uncensored journey through the fitness experience called Insanity and her life as a certified yoga teacher and juicing enthusiast. Molly, I'd welcome you to unmute.
Hello. Hi. So I am the editor for this book, and this is the second project that Uday and I have gotten to work on, the second of what I hope will be many more. And I just want to remark on the creative process that was sort of bringing this book to life and what it's like to work with Uday. I think that he really models this incredible ability to just create for the sake of creating. And he doesn't know exactly what the finished product is going to look like or what the end result is going to look like. And that doesn't matter. And everyone who's created anything has had this experience of living in that messy middle. And when it doesn't look the way that you quite want it to look like yet, or it doesn't look like what you hope for it to look like. And so often that messy middle can be really discouraging and can steer people away from the course of finishing it or bringing it to life. And just, I don't ever see that in Uday. I just see a tremendous commitment to continuing to create and move forward, regardless of whatever it looks like as things are being created. And it's been a real gift to get to be part of that process and to have that modeled so well. And to get to learn from that as I work alongside of him and as we sort of breathe life into poems and create maybe a different meaning than was there before. And if there was anybody who I've ever met who is, you know, more, I don't think there's anyone who I've ever met who's more of a yes and, or a yes, let's go, yes, let's create, yes, let's keep going. I think it's really special the way that Uday sort of creates this container for infinite imagination and possibility, and there's no wrong answers. And it just allows a tremendous amount of safety, which allows for imagination and courage and creativity. So thank you, Uday, for modeling that so beautifully. It's such an honor to get to work on these projects with you.
Thank you so much, Molly, for sharing your perspective. Next, we'll hear from Dr. Peter Kwok Chan, who is the art director of Finding Your Beebo. Peter is an associate professor of visual communication design at The Ohio State University. He's a former practitioner of brand and identity design, visual communication design, packaging design, and design research at Fitch and Procter & Gamble. He has served as a design advisor for many nonprofit, for-profit, and academic groups. Peter, welcome. Please come off mute and share your thoughts with us.
Hello, hello to Uday and your family, and also all your friends around the world. So I'm kind of very, very excited to be here is a little bit overwhelming because I think I kind of have known Woody for over 30 years since I started working at Fitch years ago. But there's so many things I can share with all of you about Woody. I can talk for 3 minutes. I can talk for 3 days. So, but I think I just want to kind of focus on working with him on the book this time, because I think last year everyone kind of stuck at home. It was a very unique experience. And suddenly I got a call from Wooday's. So excited, he said, "Peter, I just finished a book. I want you to look at that." So I looked at that, I was so overwhelmed. I was just amazed. So I finally invite him to talk to my student in the fall, my visual communication senior at OSU. They were getting ready to do their senior project. They were very, very confused and overwhelming because everything is kind of stopped. They asked me, how can I do research? How can I reach out to people? So I said, maybe I need to have Woody to talk to them, talk to like 16 of these young designers getting ready to work on the project to move to the world, to reach out to the world. So Woody was so generous. He gave everyone a copy of the book. And then also he has a wonderful talk to the student, really inspire them, encourage them. So after that, I said, Woody, if you're going to do a book again, I want to volunteer myself to design a book for you. So Woody didn't ask you to design a book. I asked Woody to let me work with him. So, and then that was in the late fall, and then we start the conversation in December. And I said, Woody, you have a good draft, but let's focus on the visual. And then Woody showed me so many wonderful sketches. And he had a little bit doubt. But I said, Woody, you are an industrial designer. You're also a visual person. You have a lot of experience visualizing form and meaning. So he took it and he sent me sketch week after week and after week for the next 2 months, 3 months. And then we have a conversation together talking about the texture, skin texture of Beebo, the eye, the shape of the eye, the face. It's amazing. It's like, this is actually my second children's book. My first one was working for Lionel Train. That was 25 years ago. I can never imagine I have worked on a children's book again. But again, to some of the experience, really, to me, it's not about the design experience. Having a conversation with Woody to get inspired by him as a person, as a designer. So I can sum up this experience really in several ways. The only thing I want to start is, I don't have a lot of time, but I want to sum up this is his company, Sonic Rim's logo. I have the privilege to design it for him, for his company. When I first worked on this, I asked him, give me some idea, design brief. He said, I am talking to my user. I want to understand them, their emotion, their need, from two perspectives, from the logical rationale and also the emotional need. So that's why we came up with this idea. The arrow is a brush stroke, mean that is getting the direction from the user, what we're heading. And then the other arrow is straight, is more rational. And you can turn it around either way, depends on which side is the most important thing. With that said, when I first got this draft, I had the opportunity to really look at the early draft of his writing and the sketch. And now when I look at the finished product, I was really think everything's come around in a full circle. In the beginning, he talked about imagination. He encouraged people to think inside your heart, your soul. Encourage everyone to imagine, to feel, and to build. And then he ended the book with the last poem called Understanding Science. So it's kind of become a full circle. Again, it's kind of brought me back by the essence of his practice, essence of him as a designer. So again, I am just the whole experience. I kind of, first in the beginning, I read his text line by line, the content and message. And then eventually I need to take the word, the sentences, turn into typography, turn into texture, turn into the flow of the pages. Eventually, I need to put everything together, look at that from a bigger perspective. How to understand how would they want to tell a story, the meaning, the expression, and overall his voice. What is the voice of him, of Beebo? So again, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful experience. Uday, I feel like Beebo is finally out in the world. I'm so happy that it's now flying all over the world to talk to everyone. I'm looking forward to see how Beebo grow, and I would definitely will keep in touch with you and everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Peter. It was great to hear from you and to hear the long history you share with Uday, my dad. Next, me introduce Cindy Cow, who acted as the associate designer for Finding Beebo. As a student of graphic design at The Ohio State University, Cindy explores design as expression and visual stimulation for the world and its people. She believes to design is to first seek to understand. Welcome, Cindy. I'll invite you to go off mute and share some thoughts with us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cindy. Thank you so much for being on this call. I definitely had the wonderful pleasure of working with Uday and Peter on this book. And when I was just thinking about what I wanted to say today, it's very brief. So I'm really glad that you all could be here until now. But I couldn't help but think of one thing that kept resonating in my mind, even when I was looking back through the pages, when I was thinking about our creative process. And that one word is love. And whether or not it was just the process of putting together the book or even what Beebo taught us during the entire process, I think that everything really hinges on one thing and one thing only, and that is love. And with lots of love, Beebo is able to exist, and Beebo exists to teach us how to love. So it's kind of like this relationship. You love Beebo and Beebo loves you back, kind of like what Anna was talking about in her speech. And I think that in loving ourselves and loving others, that's truly what I think that Beebo is trying to convey to the people here, the children, the adults, professionals, and everyone in between. And I hope that that really comes across in the pages, that we poured a lot of love into each of these pages, and we had a lot of meetings and back and forth, and all of our communication really was because we wanted to present this beautiful piece of work to everyone with that thought in mind. And I think that to love and to be loved is the most important lesson of all. And if you keep this in mind while you do anything in life, I just hope that you can remember your little friend who's always in your corner. And I hope that all of you here can eventually find your Beebo or be found by your Beebo. So thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you so much, Cindy, for sharing your beautiful perspective about love. Next up, we have the author of the book, Uday Dandavate. Uday is a design activist and ethnographer of social imagination. He has traveled extensively around the world, studying and connecting with people and cultures. As the CEO of Sonic Rim, and also through blogging, teaching, speaking, and facilitating workshops, Uday provokes all his clients and audiences to humanize technologies and democratize design. During the pandemic, as Peter mentioned earlier, Uday published 2 books of poems. The first was last year, around this time, titled A Window for a Home Without Walls. And now, most recently, Finding Your Beebo. On a more personal note, I would like to add that my father, Uday, is one of the most curious people I know. It was often a point of embarrassment growing up, but Baba would inevitably chat up people wherever he went. And he would always end up with the best tips about the best local restaurants, off the beaten path sites, and insights about local cultures that many people might miss. He's a true optimist who has kept in touch with his inner Beebo. Uday, Baba, would you like to say a few words now, please?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Isha. So since Isha referred to my first book, A Window for a Home Without Walls, I'll start there. When I opened the window for a home without my walls, my consciousness expanded. It showed me some simple truths of life that were always present, but my preoccupation with work never gave me the time to see the obvious. I looked inside my own soul through that window, the way that I've never done before, and found my inner child, bubbling with curiosity, love, compassion, and creativity. We've lived through very difficult times that last 1.5 years. During this period of lockdown and loneliness, I realized that I am never alone. My imagination can take me anywhere that I want. And it brought me so many friends. Creating the Beebo book has brought me closer to my authentic self. My desire for more is replaced by a sense of abundance. My sense of dissatisfaction I've ever felt is replaced by a sense of gratitude, curiosity, wonder, and love. I found a reason to live, to make most of every moment available to me by caring. Simple acts of caring go a long way. And that's what Beebo taught me as I was putting this book together. Our Beebo is our authentic self. Our Beebo is our natural instinct. Our Beebo is our conscience, our North Star. I'm an atheist. I don't need a God. I always thought I don't need a God. But when I discovered Beebo, I realized we all need a metaphor we can relate to, a metaphor that guides us from within. For some people, that's a God. For me, it's Beebo. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Baba. All right, so next we are going to hear from our young readers. I'd like to welcome Urvashi Balasubramaniam, who is a very special speaker here with us today. By the young age of 16, Urvashi has had a series of accolades to rival most seasoned authors. She is a poet and the author of the book The Little Glow, which she wrote when she was just 11 years old. Urvashi has spoken at several events and conducted writing and poetry workshops for students, and she writes a poetry blog. She's a staff writer for the Scientific Teen magazine and a young member of the New York Academy of Sciences and Junior Academy. She also runs a youth organization called the Eco Club United for environmental change. Welcome, Urvashi. Could you please go off mute and share your thoughts with us?
Hello, everyone. My name is Urvashi. I'm 16 years old, and I'm the author of The Little Glow and a huge fan of Uday Uncle's work. Having read and reviewed his wonderful debut book, A Window for a Home Without Walls as well, I know what an honor it is to be speaking here today. Now, I consider myself something of an expert on childhood. After all, it was only 5 years ago. And I remember very well what it is like to be a child, which I think grown-ups often forget. Grown-ups think that children are incomplete adults and that they have a lot to catch up on. So they have to be taught how to behave and what rules and protocols they need to follow. They need to enforce this until the children become adults themselves. This book teaches adults how to be children. It teaches them how to question and introspect and be curious about the world around them. It teaches them to think differently, to play and imagine and create and be empathetic. And instead of telling children what the world is, it encourages them to explore it themselves and imagine what it could be. This is well articulated in one of my favorite lines in the book. Your eyes show you what is real. Your imagination shows you what is possible. The reason children are so good at being creative and curious is their outlook, because the world is their oyster, where they are unafraid to fail and excited to try. If you take back anything from this book, it should be that sense of play. When I was younger, even younger, I was very curious. And I used to play this game with my dad while waiting for the bus called the maybe game, where we would guess why the bus was late. Maybe the bus's mother didn't wake it up on time, or maybe the bus lost its way. And we played a lot of games like that when I was younger, and I never realized until now how essential they were to practicing my creativity. Everyone should have a childhood where you're given the freedom to be a child, to ask questions upon questions, to play and create freely without without the fear of failure. And everyone should be able to carry that forward into adulthood, to continue that sense of play and curiosity. I was once gifted a dollhouse made entirely of plastic, and none of the furniture that came with it fit in it. So I ended up making a new one entirely by myself out of cardboard and old packaging. And soon enough, I created an entire cardboard mansion that occupied about half of this room. And I can relate this memory very well to the line, "A problem is not a dead end. It is a sign that there is more to discover than you already know. A problem is a temporary obstacle if you accept the challenge." My parents didn't mind me building an entire house in my room. They let me expand it and spend all my time creating and planning and designing. And they were proud that I was able to create something like that out of nothing but old boxes and a little bit of creativity. I relate that sense of creativity and observation I have today to those moments where I was encouraged to think for myself, to observe, and to create. From my book of poetry to the events I'm introducing at school. I think I've been able to carry that forward quite well, because as the book so aptly tells you, the Beebo within you doesn't ever really leave, but you do have to cultivate a place where you can find your Beebo again. This book also does a fantastic job of talking to children with empathy. It says it's okay to fight and disagree, and that it takes time to learn how to share a space, which is different from what you normally teach children, which is to be nice and polite all the time. It says that your sole perspective can never really tell the full story, and it asks children to explore the world not only from their own perspective, but the perspectives of everyone around them. And that understanding other people's lives only enriches your own. This book breaks down concepts like perception, empathy, observation, introspection, and design thinking to terms that children can understand and relate to. It feels very much like a parent telling you to go forth and explore the world. And to end, I'd like to share a few lines from the book that I really appreciated as a writer. "The earth is made of tiny grains. Together, they keep a forest standing. Ideas, when they come together, can create big ideas. Ask why, and you will learn something. Ask again, and you will learn even more. Keep asking, and you will get to the truth. Ask yourself why, and you will learn about yourself." And of course, my all-time favorite quote, "The future is yours to imagine." So congratulations, Uday Uncle, on your wonderful book. It's an absolute honor to be part of this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rishi.
Well said. Thank you so much, Urvashi. That was beautiful. For our next and last bit here, we are going to share a video compilation of our youngest reader responses and how they felt about Beebo.
And he's the author of the book. I was lucky enough to be one of the first people to read his book, Beebo. For me, Beebo is my stuffed animal, Marshmallow, because Marshmallow is always there to make me feel happy. And even when I am happy, she's happy with me too.
Hi everyone, my name is Brian, and I am one of the many students who got inspired by Professor Uday. First, I want to thank you, Uday, for sharing me his amazing new book, Finding Your Beebo. For me personally, I'm a big fan of meditation. I found it's a great way for me to find out who I am and to look for what I want to do and focus on what I'm currently doing.
Beebo is a child inside you, your best friend. When you feel confused, upset, or angry, you can talk to Beebo and be understood.
When you feel happy, you can sing and dance with Beebo. Beebo will never leave your side.
It's a guidance for me. When I'm reading this book, I find myself in a way to find the true self deep inside me. And after reading this book, I become more creative and become more curious about everything around me, which was a wonderful experience.
It was interesting and fun. My favorite part of the Beebo book is the page 19 called Imagine It. It's my favorite page because it has a picture of an ice cream truck. And I once had it, and it reminds me of a dream I had where I was doing an obstacle course made of cookies and ice cream. And at the end, I got a giant cake made of cookies and ice cream.
My second favorite part is on the back cover.
What does the back cover say?
When you grow up and forget your Beebo, you lose your child inside. When you lose the child inside, you lose curiosity, love, and creativity. Beebo can help you preserve these qualities as you grow up.
So I think Beebo is part of our dreams. And dreams can make us feel happy, sad, or angry. But Beebo has those feelings too, just like me.
Beebo will bring you wonder, confidence, and courage. This is an inspiring quote.
It's kind of difficult. How does Amma, how does Appa find our Beebo? Seems like a very abstract character. How do we go and just knock on some door and say, Beebo, help! I am not curious anymore. I am so tired. I'm so frustrated. How do we go?
You just ask yourself that question.
What question?
You ask yourself the question, well, what's wrong? Why am I losing my curiosity? And then Beebo can answer you.
With imagination, we can create anything.
When you see something with your eyes closed, that's what your imagination. Your eyes show you what is real. Your imagination shows you what is possible.
To build something new, you use your experience and your imagination. You can build anything with your imagination and practice. Practice means doing it over and over until you gain mastery. Remember how many tries it takes to gain mastery at tying your shoelaces.
How many times does it take to learn how to master your shoelaces?
More than 15.
Yeah, we're still working on it, huh?
And it takes your whole life to listen.
Yes, your whole life. You should be learning to listen more, you're right.
All right. Feel it. Close your eyes and feel. What do you hear? What do you smell? Remember how you feel.
So Sachit, what's Beebo inside you tells you?
Beebo inside me helps me make new friends. This book was also beautifully illustrated, as you can see with this picture here.
Mm-hmm.
And it also has a few fun games at the end. Like, you can color up a picture,
mm-hmm.
and you can write some thoughts in here, which is basically a journal. Beebo is a great book. It has lovely illustrations, beautiful morals, and well-written values.
I think Uday did a great job with this book by visualizing it with a cartoon character, Beebo.
म्हणून तुला काय आवडलं ग?
बेबो.
बेबो आवडलं तुला? आणि बेबो काय खात होता? वॉटरमेलन. आणि बेबोने काय लावलं? मोठ्यानं सांग. ट्री लावलं. करेक्ट. आणि बेबो हे काय करत होतं? म्हणू नको. कशाशी खेळत होता बेबो? अँशी. करेक्ट. आणि बेबोने काय बघितले ग म्हणू? स्टार्स. आणि अजून काय होतं? मून होतं. आणि मग तुला आवडलं का? मोठ्याने सांग. आवडलं ना? सण पण आवडला.
You can talk to Beebo about your future. Imagine it, feel it, build it. So thank you, Uday Azoba, for the book. Thank you. Thank you, Uday Azoba.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. A big thank you to our speakers, our children, and our readers, and especially to the creators of this delightful book. Finding Your Beebo is now available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle formats. And as a special offer for our audience today, the Kindle version is available to download for free today. Baba, would you like to say any final words?
Sure. Thank you all. This has been such an amazing learning experience for me. Each one of you said things that I had not heard before, but it's not surprising to me coming from you. So I hope each of you has something to take away from, and that you would encourage other people who you're in contact with, bring out their Beebo, create a space of safety, a container of safety in which we can explore our Beebo, work with our Beebo, work with other people's Beebo, and create a future that is fun, playful, full of love and compassion. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.